Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Racing Club International, this time round for round 2 of the Ferrari 488 Cup. My name is George Smith, joined in the commentary box once again by my friend Sam Tech Girl Wright, and we are going to have a goodie, another Italian track, Sam, and some more racy things to do.
Lots of racy things, and they're going to be going quick fast today, George. We're at Monza. It's a beautiful day. This is all about the speed, and we're going to see all those incredible Ferraris just zooming around. We're here to make funny zoom noises with our mouths, so commentary will be super easy. We just have to go zoom.
Yeah, it's one of these tracks that is very well known in the online racing community. Good old Monza. A good old traditional track here for these guys to come and put themselves to the limits, and I'm kind of excited to see where things go. I mean, last time around we saw the likes of George Boothby come out and just absolutely destroy it up at the front. He's also doing so currently in practice with a nice pole sitting practice time. It's not as quick as he was the last time around. This time just a tenth between himself and the likes of George's, so a little bit closer around, which means that maybe quali's going to be a bit closer, maybe a closer race, and up at the front, that's what we want to see. If we don't see racing up at the front, Sam, I mean, let's be honest, the mid-pack battles in the formats that we've got today, I mean, should we talk through those formats?
I think so. I mean, if we take a look at, well, let's take a look back at last week and chat about what we saw there. Obviously, you mentioned Boothby just flying through in the front, so we'd like to see him potentially challenged a little bit. But I think a driver that I'm going to be watching is Ognorognikov. He'll probably start off, I'm going to take a guess, actually looking at his time, he might be faster than our rate, but we saw him last week sort of battle his way through that pack that was following George and really, and really challenged him a lot, so he'll be one that I'm watching. Boardman as well. There's a few here that really impressed me last week, and I do think that this track's going to allow them to move a bit faster.
Oh, big off in the background out through Lesmo 1 as we look at Burgess coming out of Lesmo 2, the 666. It's interesting, the race format, because of course they need to get consistent throughout the ranges that we get to when we go to each track. Now that we're at Monza, there's 2 races that they've got, a 20-minute and a 40-minute race sprint format to come out, and they need to get as many points as they can. Of course, if you do run away and get double victories up at the front, you do come away as a top dog, but it's not always the case. We saw some guys having a great race 1 last week, and then race 2 just didn't go the same way. They had to make their way back through the order, and it kind of worked in their favor, didn't it? They had 40 minutes then to work through the pack, double the time, and that worked out if they did make that mistake early on. In the 20-minute race, you can't make mistakes.
You can't make mistakes. You have to be super consistent. It is a bit of a different track, though, so I think last week in the 20 minutes, once Boothby got into the lead, he was just impossible to catch because of all those twisty turns. I think now, in the 20-minute race, if you get into the front, you will have to still not make those mistakes and be consistent, but I definitely think we're going to see more fights, possibly more fights for that top spot in the 20 minutes, and then obviously when you get to the 40 minutes, you have a little bit more time to kind of just get yourself comfortable and in the zone, right?
Yeah, it's also like that adaptation thing. The more time that you spend doing something, you'll probably naturally get better at it. So once the nerves settle after race 1, race 2 starts a little bit more level-headed, and you can maybe approach it differently. I would get affected that way. I don't think that applies to everybody, but a fair certain number of races out here probably in the same sort of situation where, yeah, they can adapt, they can get better in the second race. The first race, maybe one that they use to kind of set the pace for themselves, but it can't be that way if you are chasing for like the top championship spots. You need to make sure that you get both of your race results in to the top points. Like you can't risk it.
Is there a specific driver that you're going to have your eyes on today? Someone that impressed you last week that you think we need to be watching today? Other than, I mean, I obviously mentioned Ognorognikov, but do you have a favorite that you'll be watching?
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily a favorite driver. I think I would be interested to see if the likes of George Boothby can bring the same level of pace that he brought last time round. Being in this sort of split and having the drivers that are here, you would like to see everybody fighting out. Look at this, an interesting change of events going into quali. I see the pitter-patter of raindrops dripping down on the backgrounds of our drivers. Sam, it looks like we're getting a rainy qualifying session.
So my question to you now is, how does this change the plan? If you know that you're going to have a little bit of rain in qualifying, the track looks quite wet, and we can see it is wet. So now what is the plan? How do you change up?
I mean, it's hard to just kind of discount all the F words that we're seeing the drivers throwing down in their cockpits as they get into their driver's seats, because this does throw a spanner in the works. If you haven't even prepped a rain setup and you've just been practicing in the dry, you would be caught off guard almost immediately. Just slapping on a pair of wet tires and going with your previous setup isn't going to adapt over. The sim doesn't allow for that. I mean, you can get the car around, but you won't be able to push it to the way that you could before. If you haven't driven in the rain in a long time, just trying to get the car up to temperature in these kind of temperature, the track conditions is difficult. The fact that you're now following behind other drivers who are kicking up a spray, which is then throwing up your visibility issues because you've got additional raindrops on your windshield. It's not just the rain coming down, so it's planning about where you're coming out. And unfortunately for these guys, it's a 10-minute quali. You've got no time. You're in the deep end, no armbands, and you're struggling to swim.
I like that. No armbands. We saw Boothby very quickly just move his way out of the other cars to get to in front. Obviously trying to get rid of that pitter-patter and the spray back that he was going to get. I said that nicely. It's not very nice. There's no pitter-patter going on if you're behind someone. So now for everyone, it's just about positioning yourself, I presume, into a space where you can still race as much as you want. Oh, look at that. There is our first victim. Not 100% sure who, I say victim, I'm not being very nice. Not 100% sure who that is, but they're not going to be very happy. But I'm expecting some more of those thrills and spills. George, I think is the nicest way to call it.
It's thrills and spills, spins, and it's not what you want, but it's kind of the action that you get out here. The track's definitely slippery. Track conditions indicated as wet. We can see that visually. We can see the rain coming down. For us on board now with George's, he will be the car to take us on an onboard lap here at Monza for round 2 of the RCI Ferrari 488 Evo Cup, in partnership, of course, with AK Informatica Race Department, Raceface Speed Labs, and the Sim Racing GP platform. Out through the infamous first chicane, Georges now makes his way down through what normally is a quick right-hander, and right now you can just see him just making micro corrections on that steering wheel as he tries to find as much grip as he can. Now down into that second chicane, into the braking zone as well, slowing himself down, still trying to aim for those apexes, but being very cautious not to get onto the curbs. You will lose traction in the slippery conditions, and he's making sure that he just uses the tarmac. There's not really a dry line that's forming up just yet, but you can see him just cautiously entering into Lesmo 1. Lesmo 2 now, a little bit more brave, does use all the exit on the track, still on the loud pedal, and gets himself back into the middle of the track as he makes his way down the back stretch here. A little bit of breathing space before he makes his way towards the Ascari curves. And here, this is where I expect a lot of action to happen. A lot of anti-cut curb being used there. Unsettles the curb a little bit. That's going to impact his mid-sector through as well as his exit. You can just see how loose the back end of the 488 looks as we go from the helicam down the final stretch before the parabolica, and all the speed needed as you come into this final right-hander. Again, just got to make sure you don't lose it here. Can quickly lose the back end, getting too eager, and it's not going to be the way here for Georges. The 777 will go over the line to set our first lap time here today, a 154.111 coming out with 5 minutes left to go on the clock. A nice solid lap. A banker lap comes down as George Boothby, now the man to keep an eye out on, will go over the line. Does he go pole? He does. 4/10 quicker in the wet than the man behind him, Sam.
So obviously Boothby not too worried about the rain. That's pretty much what we saw from him last week. Also setting the fastest lap early on. And now it's a matter of finding out if anyone can catch him. But I'd again, I mean, I said it last week, he just looks so confident in his drives. Like, it's almost like he just doesn't even realize that there's anyone else on the track. Or as I say, that Ognorognikov taking a little stop there. Wonder what's happened.
Well, I mean, he's actually gone pole. Oh, yeah, he went pole. He did a 153.3, 3 tenths quicker than Boothby.
Ognorognikov, I'm so sorry. I just saw you pull over and thought, oh, shame. Something terrible has happened. That's what happens when I see rain.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I forgive you this time around. I think him pulling over there, he just wanted to. Over the middle of the grass goes the red and white Ferrari in the background, as Ferdinand Kirchhoff, our man, sitting in third place, second row on the grid. Not a bad place to be. 7 tenths behind the pace of the number 41. We see Corentin Burgess actually going to jump himself up into second place. That knocks Kirchhoff down to fourth. The 666 goes up and sets a 153.685, which will be 3 tenths behind Ognorognikov. So a lot of pace to be found, it looks like, up at the front here. A second down to sixth place. That's Bart Mutcher, 1.038 seconds off the pace. As our 777 now trying to attack once again. Does he better himself? He does. The 777 will jump himself up to fourth. But the conditions out here not nice for the drivers. Maybe the race goes dry. Maybe it stays wet. But Boothby goes pole. 153.1. A tenth quicker than Ognorognikov.
But Ognorognikov is coming in for his second lap, so there's a very good chance that he could potentially beat that, I think, and maybe come in fast as well. He's looking very competitive. I mean, I know last week we saw he had lots of fans in the chat supporting him, and you could see there was a very aggressive driving style to him. He wanted the win, but obviously a couple of issues that stopped him from being able to get on the podium at all. But obviously decided to go home, stay at home, I suppose, put some time in, and now he's a serious contender. So I'll be interested to see what he's able to do. I mean, there's 2-3 minutes left of qualifying. Maybe he can pull something out of the hat.
It's not going to be an easy one to get in at the last part of the race, and of course the qualifying sets you up for both races, so you really do want to make sure you get the best effort you can in here. So being rainy, being 10 minutes, it's so difficult. Burgess wrestling with the back end of the 488 out through the Parabolica. Currently in third place, looking good to chase that time down just a smidge. Isn't going to be enough. He goes over the line. It's not going to be a better, of a 153.4 does better his time, but not better his position. The 666 stays in the second row. 2 minutes left on that clock. The 777 once again featuring up here as our cameraman Jake finds the Delta times to be indicating these drivers getting themselves closer and closer to bettering their position. So the 777 now round through the Parabolica as well, and over the checkered. Ooh, look at that, Sam. A new man, a new contender has entered the arena. George's goes up, sets a 153.1 to take pole, 500ths quicker than Boothby.
That is, I mean, there's such a small time difference there, but it doesn't matter because it is enough for him to grab that pole position, and I'm pretty sure he'll be happy with that. Nice round from him, nice track. He'll be happy, good time. I wonder if anyone else will be able to better it this close towards the end of qualifying. What do you think, George?
I've seen lesser weird things happen, and to be honest, I don't want to say that it can't. We've got some mad hatters that are still out there. Boothby, Ognorognikov, Burgess, and right now those times are tumbling down. I mean, between second and first, that's just, it's not even a braking zone difference. So now Ognorognikov attacking Ascari onto the back stretch, and this is where he's caught up to a little bit of traffic, might get a bit of a toe down. But as that quali clock ticks down, 46 seconds, he's going to be able to get over and set another lap time here. I don't think George's is going to be getting another lap in here. Boothby might be able to squeeze one, I'm not sure, but definitely going to go the way here for the number 41 if he is going to squeeze a little bit more out. Does he need it though? Third place at the moment, goes over the line, goes pole, 152.6, half a second, son.
I thought that I saw Boothby's livery somewhere in the mix, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'll be curious to see. Based on qualifying, though, I think that we are in for one hell of a race just now, because it's already getting super competitive. They are getting faster and faster. They want this. They are hungry. I'm starting to get very excited, and the race hasn't become. Here comes Boothby. This is it. Let's see if he's going to be able to. He's not going to be happy with that third spot. I want to find out if he'll be fast enough to take pole. Is it going to be enough? No.
It's not. He does better his time, does get closer. 3/10 off, though, of that pole lap. I mean, it was disgusting time coming in from Ogorodnikov. I mean, half a second at that sort of point in quali where everybody's got their best laps getting shot in, and you go half a second up, that's where you can comfortably go back to the pits, and Ogorodnikov doesn't. He continues out. He might go quicker anyway. Ferdinand Kirchhoff in 6th place here. He wants to go a little bit quicker as he finds himself going down towards the Parabolica. This will be his final qualifying lap. A lot of the drivers are rounding themselves up, and that will be them done and dusted. This will be the starting position for them for both the 20 and 40 minute races coming up. 1-3-6 out through the Parabolica, and looking quite neat and tidy compared to a lot of the other drivers who were wrestling with the back ends, maybe getting a little bit more grip. Does go up one position, goes up into 5th. A 1:53.670 will be his time, but it's not better than what Ogorodnikov has done. I feel like that was a filthy qualifying performance coming out from the man, and something that I kind of almost expected last week to be more of a factor from him based on his esports background and things. Very talented driver. Martin Lawrence also a talented driver for the Connection Loss Racing team, the 171. He needs to start a little bit up the order to have a better shot compared to last week. Won't better his position, but I think starting in the top 10 here, Sam, with 21 cars on the grid, that's certainly going to give you a good shot for both the 20 and 40-minute race formats.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that Lawrence was the racer last week who ended up having a little bit of a mishap at the start of the second race, fell all the way down to, I think, 23rd, and was able to pull himself back up into the top 10.
So, Sam, before we go over that, I just want to go through the championship standings here for the viewers. In first place, George Boothby, of course, at the top, sitting there with 140 points. Martin Lawrence currently sits in that second silver position with 98 points, and just behind him, Bart Mutcher with 93 points in third. Igor Ogorodnikov sits in fourth place. Maximilian Wolmuth in fifth with 81 points, tied with Corentin Burgess for sixth place. Alan Garland in seventh place with 78 points. Eighth place for Andreas Simon with 68 points. Andy Boardman in ninth place with 65 points. And Ferdinand Kirchhoff rounding out the top 10 on 62 points. Just outside that top 10 in 11th position, Christian Buchel. He is sitting on 59 points. In 12th, Martin Elber. In 13th, Nico Strauss. 14th for David Gill. K. Alwe Beering in 15th. Lorenzo Tokicelli in 16th place with 33 points. 17th for Daniel Jose Georges. And 18th for Neil Pimlott. He's got 28 points. Jan Matches in 19th is sitting on 27 points. And Gennaro D'Amato rounds out the top 20 with 23 points. I mean, the points between these guys is so close. One small mistake and everything changes up. In 21st points, at 21st place, Bertie Nero. In 22nd, Wojtek Burgess. In 23rd, Egon Quins. In 24th, Matteo Richter. In 25th, Walter Rotundo. And in 26th, Camel Stempel. So right now, lots of points to play for. Camel Stempel needs to get some points on the board. And we are setting a stage here, Sam, for what I believe I can hear on the rooftop of the commentary box is going to be a wet race. So I'm pretty excited to see just how these guys handle this. I'm not sure if both races are actually going to be wet. I'm not sure if this is random to be. In fact, I have no idea if they were allowed to prepare for the wet conditions. I feel like I was a little bit underprepared with that kind of knowledge. So if they were prepared, then they're lucky. But at the moment, I'm not quite sure. where it stands. So as we fly through the grid order here, starting up on the front row, Ogorodnikov alongside Boothby. On the second row, Georges lines up alongside Corentin, Burgess, Ferdinand Kirchhoff, and Martin Lawrence on the third row, Christian Buchel and Annie Boardman on that fourth row, Bart Matcher and Maximilian Woolmuth rounding out the top 10. Alan Garland starts 11th, Jan Matjas in 12th, Nico Strauss in 13th, Martin Alba in 14th, 15th for K. Elwa Beering, 16th for Gennaro D'Amato, Neil Pimlott in 17th, Lorenzo Tocuccelli in 18th place, Bertie Miro starts 19th, David Gill in that number 80 starts in 20th, and then rounding out our 21 car grid for round 2 of the RCI TV Ferrari 488 Evo round 2 is Walter Rotundo.
I'm excited to see the wet track. I think rain or shine, this is going to be a very competitive race. We know it's going to be fast. We saw that in qualifying. We knew before knowing what track that these guys were going to be racing on. I think that those top three, I'd even go as far as to say top 6 are going to be battling it out. And of course, that first chicane, as we spoke about this off broadcast, George, we can expect some fun to start this race.
Oh, I mean, in the wet, that's, like I said, Monza online. We talk about it every broadcast, and it's my favorite thing because you always say to the drivers, you cannot wreck into turn 1 in Monza. It looks clowny on all the drivers that have shown up. It also just makes the race incredibly one-sided for everybody caught up in that carnage. And for it to be a good race, you need to have a good start. So I think everybody knows what's at stake. Lights on for a lot of the drivers here, starting ourselves at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Very, very rainy and grey afternoon here at Monza. Joined in the commentary box by my good friend Sam Wright, as we get to talk about the fakey racing things. And of course, this time around, the 488 Cup. I mean, Cup car racing, it's my favorite. It puts everybody in the same car. So if you haven't joined us before, nobody's allowed to pick anything different. And you have to just adapt to what's thrown at you.
There we go. They're all entering that first chicane now. Let's see how that goes. I did ask you before we got into this, Martin Lawrence, he was the one that climbed himself up all the way into the top 10 after a really shaky start last week, if I'm not mistaken. Ogorodnikov just feeling it out there, him and Boothby trying to figure out who's going to take that lead, and he does. That they're kind of just, I'm presuming, just kind of getting a feel for the track here as well and one another to find the best possible position.
Just getting themselves up to temperature, making sure that they get this formation lap done and dusted. It's very slow in the conditions that they find themselves. They will have gone for those wet race tires, as the race clock indicates 30 minutes of rain, and it's only a 20-minute race. So you've got a good, easy decision there in what you're throwing onto the car. Don't have to worry too much about variability. Coming into the 40-minute race and you don't have that full prediction ahead, maybe you're not quite certain if you do have rain coming down. But right now, that number 41 up at the front, just leading us away, and a nice little sight to see as well, the 21 car grid. Everybody bring out different paint jobs. It's one of my favorite topics when I talk about racing simulation games, is when it comes down to the custom liveries that guys get to design. Obviously here, these are just the in sim ones. There's obviously availability for these cars to get sponsors and stuff in the future, perhaps. We have no idea. But a lot of people looking to explore the creative side of sim racing, and I quite enjoy the colors. Sam, are you a color fan or not really? Is the white car of Ogorodnikov, is that just is it like destroying everything I'm saying about colors on cars?
I mean, I like a Ferrari. I'm partial to a red Ferrari. I feel like every brand of car has its signature color, and obviously the Ferrari is red, but I do like all the bright colors on the track. I saw someone else in the chat mention that purple Ferrari. They got very excited, so I do think all the color changes are fun. This one here, Burgess, is actually my favorite livery on the track today, if I'm honest. It's
mean,
pink and black. I could see myself driving that.
I mean, I feel like it's fire. I kind of agree with it. I saw some green and purple again. The Hulk / Joker. We called it the Joker the last time. The black and red, also quite traditionally lovely, I feel like, as a racing livery. But I feel like everybody bringing a little bit of spice down. 2x2 day lineup. Welcome to everybody in the chat. We see you guys there. The support coming out for Rodnikov in pole position. Lovely to see everybody coming out and supporting. Sam, this is going to be a good one. Turn 1 needs to be clean. And we line up now for the final time at this slow speed through the Parabolica. And a 20-minute sprint race is about to go down. We wait to go down to that green flag to let us know that we are live and ready to go. The guys will get off of their limited entry speeds. And it looks like everybody forming up really nicely here ahead of the race start. And it's going to be, I mean, I feel like I want to say no chaos, but it's wet, it's Monza, it's turn 1. And it's going to be a mad dash down to the line. Green, green, green. We are live for round 2. And Rodnikov gets a good start alongside Boothby. Boothby going to be challenging him down into the braking zone from the get-go as everybody behind lines up. It's still not chaos just yet. Everybody trying to find some position. Got to be careful coming down. Oh, a lot of curve for Rodnikov. Almost touches the front nose cone of Boothby as they get through. But the number 41, a clinical start coming down, gets himself away nice and clean. And we will see a chase down from Boothby for that pole sitting spot. Rodnikov on a run, but at chase by Boothby in the background. Georges and Burgess, they're going to go side by side coming down into turn 2 almost. No, they're not. A couple of cars having a look-see, but it looks like clean sailing going out for that all-white number 41 at this point.
You say that, but I can actually feel Boothby. I know what he's thinking in the car. He wants to be in the front. He got used to that. He doesn't like having other cars around him. And you can see there the way he is chasing that down. He wants to be in front as quick as possible. It is going to be a fight between these two. As I say that, though, Rodnikov is starting to use those straights to his advantage, just trying to make as much room as he possibly can. I think you need to watch these two, George. It's going to be a battle between both of them. And in these conditions, battles like this could potentially force a mistake, and a mistake means someone can grab a higher position.
Absolutely. Rodnikov doing what he needs to do to avoid that situation right now, just making sure that he's a couple car lengths out at the end of Ascari. A couple of other drivers behind, not quite given the same fate. Georges under attack from Burgess as they come down into the Parabolica. The 777 leading over that 666. But the two of them, 2 car lengths between them, still within the slip. It looks like behind them, Kirchhoff and Lawrence also just fighting out for that slipstream, trying to maximize on it. Kirchhoff is going to be chased down hard by Lawrence, who's going to make an early move here. Going to take up the outside position. He's setting himself up for the exit out through the corner, though. He wants to stay alongside so that the exit gives him the inside line, but he's a little bit too early on the brakes to get it. Backs himself up and gets caught up behind the 136, who's got a late exit out, and the 171 will go round the outside now through that fast right-hander. It's very slippery there. It's hard to go side by side here. You've got to be careful, but they're giving themselves some room. Beautiful driving coming out from the two of them, and they will remain side by side now into the braking zone. Lawrence, a car length ahead down, and everybody sliding in one at a time. The 136 tries to have another look around the outside, but that 69, he's having a lunge. He wants to have a look. He wants to get on the inside of Lesmo 1, and he's done just that. Beautiful work from Andy Boardman. Barges his way right in there, and that's going to open up for Michel. That 32, he's also going to have a look. The 136 wants to defend, but the 32 needs to just back off through Lesmo 2. Beautiful racing coming out from these drivers in the wet conditions.
I was trying to pinpoint my favorite race and my favorite driver there, but Lawrence looks beautiful. But then, of course, straight after that, Boardman did the impressive move. Everyone just looks really hungry now, and it's been incredible to watch. I mean, just watching that, phenomenal driving. I mean, I'm a little bit speechless, if I'm honest.
I mean, it was just classy driving from everyone on board with Ferdinand Kirchhoff. We get to see a little bit of that spray that you get when you're following in a train as we go down towards the Parabolica here. Boardman just making himself in the middle of the track, not allowing Kirchhoff to really pick an angle coming down into Parabolica. The number 69 is under attack though, and that's going to slow him down from the charge on Lawrence. Behind them, Buchel and Matcha also seem to be getting closer and closer together. Looks like Matcha is going to sit on the back end of Kirchhoff all the way down. If he's able, Buchel, should I say. They are going to go alongside once again. It's setting yourself up for the exit, always coming down here. A lot of traffic coming in here. The 404 with a little switch around. Now put onto the outside, and the spin comes down. Too much throttle applied, and the 32 does a little bit of donuts at the exit of the first chicane.
Michelle's not going to be very happy with that. I believe that, that was the 32. But interestingly enough, just want to pull your attention to the front of the race. Ogner Rognikov is about 2 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, ahead of Boothby. Boothby's trying to close that time, but it would seem that Ogner Rognikov is flying. He's obviously got the support of his fans are keeping him moving forward and in that top position. Now we take a look here as we come into there we go. You get to see Boothby's car just drive there, but we're looking at Georges, who's also trying very hard to compete with those top two. I actually think this is going to get really close. I mean, even if it doesn't happen in this 20-minute race, I think in the 40-minute race that we're going to see a lot more of that overtaking, a lot of changes of position, because these guys have come out firing today, George.
They really have. They are bringing their A game into the wet race and making sure that they show that they're competitive no matter what the conditions are. Bertie Miro, he's trying to close down the gap onto the back of that silver 488 in front of him. Alan Garland in the 101. He's going side by side with a couple of cars coming down into the Parabolica. 101 in that bright blue street weapon machine, as he's surrounded by a whole bunch of red doubled liveried Ferraris. A lot of traditional red coming out as Alan Garland. He's a little bit off the back end of Buchel at this point. He needs to realize that I guess Buchel is out of position quite heavily after that spin. But if he can just kind of use it to his advantage, if he's clearing traffic in front and the space is being made for him, he can certainly try and squeeze a gap through as well. We saw just how many positions you can lose when people are trying to overtake and they make the wrong decision to open up the inside line. Kirchhoff here going defensive against Matcha. Just closing the door a little bit, Sam. I mean, you're coming into the corner, you know that someone's behind you aiming for that inside apex. Yeah, you make sure that no one can get a dive coming in the inside, but I guess it kind of slows your exit down, and this is why Match is always able to just hold on to the back end. Forcing him to go defensive means that neither one of them really catch up to Boardman.
We're on board now with Matcha, and you can see in the 404, and we mentioned it before, but you can see that rain coming down. The conditions that they're driving in can be so difficult, and yet they're keeping it together. They're finding the good lines. They're competing. The times are tight. The spaces between them are tighter. Now watching Kirchhoff as he comes around. I'm really impressed with the driving today. I expected more chaos, especially when I saw the rain. I don't want to say I'm disappointed because the driving has been so good. Look at that as the back end just sort of sways off there. Nice little spinny drifting vibes. I've always been a fan of drifting, George. I know you have too. That's why I like a wet track, because sometimes you get to enjoy the best of both worlds.
For sure, that is probably my favorite part, is that it does get a little bit wild out there, and you do find them having to make some adaptations, lose some time, I guess, to the drivers that they're defending against. So much time having to be done, set and focused on absolutely nailing the lap times that you've got here, and then at the same time you've just got these like ridiculous conditions that just throw complete chaos into the factor side of things. I mean, George is now, he's losing out time to catching up to Boothby purely because of that pressure that Burgess still just holds on to him. So Boothby in a bit of a race of his own, got a bit of a gap up to the likes of Rodnikov. He's just dominating in first place, 2.9 seconds ahead. Bit of a different situation for Boothby to find himself in compared to last week. Maybe also the rain being a little bit of a factor out here. We saw practice being dry and the wet coming out for quali and now staying for the race. Georges, he looks pretty comfortable. We saw him looking good in practice in the dry. Quali was comfortable. Race, he's looking comfortable. So it looks like a lot of the drivers here just making sure that this first race doesn't get treated as a throwaway as such. The pressure staying on, but also just being a little bit safer. You know, not just taking a lunge where the opportunity arises straight away, just knowing, okay, you know, someone else could make a mistake and I get a position without putting myself at too much risk.
I mean, I think the drivers know it's 3 weeks, 6 races. None of this is a throwaway. The points count no matter what. So if you want to have a good race, this is the perfect opportunity. Ognorognikov has got that down. He knows now he's flying in the front there. This is a great chance for him to get that #1 podium finish. And ultimately, that means points on the board, right, as the weeks continue. He's currently sitting in 4th place in the league or in the cup. So he'll want this because it'll definitely help him along. So I think everyone's going to play it safe. I say that, though. I think that what we're seeing here in this top 4 between Boothby, Georges, and Burgers, they're fighting really hard with one another. Especially, yeah, look at this 3rd and 4th battle. I mean, Burgess has been on Georges' back the whole way, nice and close there.
Not easing up the pressure at all is that 666 of Burgess at all. I mean, Georges not going to love this. I mean, he's got 9 minutes still to do this, and it does look like the 666 is kind of getting a little bit of a read here. Sees where the flaws lie, sees where his advantages are, and for Georges, he's just got to kind of wait and see where that comes in. Also, not kind of focus on it too much. Put it at the back of your mind. Just drive your drive. You say that it's impossible. You're always looking at the cars next to you. You're always going to be aware of what times you're making up at what part of the track. For the first time in a couple of laps, it looks like the exit out of Lesmo 2 is going to be where that 777 finds that advantage, is going to be able to stretch out quite a few car lengths coming down into Ascari. Got to be careful, though, not to lose that too quickly. One mistake braking too early, and that gap closes back all the way. A little bit wide out through the exit of Ascari, as does Burgess, just trying to carry momentum and also just not make too many corrections through that sector. So slippery, so dangerous, kind of high speed, trying to rely on downforce, and just a difficult situation all around.
We might have a replay for you. There was a penalty earlier on, so we're going to take a look at that now if we have the replay available to us.
There we go. We got it coming up right now, and I guess that was the penalty coming out there, I suppose. And the stewards say what the stewards do, a little bit of elbows out, and it's not tolerated. Daniel Jose Georges still under that pressure down the order. Jan Matjes also having a good look at putting some pressure onto Garland down in 13th and 12th. But Matjes picking up that penalty is going to impact him quite severely, knowing that regardless of what time he makes up, 5 seconds for him is even going to put Rotundo ahead of him in this situation. So those penalties won't be served in any of the pit stops, obviously. Post-race gets applied, and that can cost you a lot. Georges still has to stay so defensive. I mean, they're losing a couple seconds, obviously, to Boothby. It's not a lot of time, so these guys are still pushing at a pretty good pace. I mean, if you look at the lap times, 1:54.2, the last. Ooh, noses starting to be applied here. Burgess not wanting to let this go on for too much longer. 7 minutes on the clock. A little bit of curb being used out from Georges, going to slow him down on the back stretch. But like I was saying, I mean, their lap times, 1:54.2 comes out from Boothby on the last lap. 1:53.7 comes out from Jose Georges, and of course 1:53.9 from Corentin Burgess. So I mean, they're pushing lap times that are quicker. Ogorodnikov, 1:53.1, his pace just still staying ridiculously quick. 1:53 almost flat, going to be the race pace best lap from Ogorodnikov. That's half a second quicker than anyone else has really done, according to my timing sheet. So that's massive. A little look-see we're going to see the defensive line from the 777. Might have made braked himself, both of them do, and they both go on a little exhibition out through the outside of the track. They both rejoin, and they both continue. So coming in a little bit hot, a little bit too brave, and I think they both saw it, and they both just had to kind of make, I mean, it was quite beautiful in its own way, the way that it went down for them, but at the same time, definitely going to be costly, it looked like, to the likes of Burgess. Looking here at Bartimiro, he's trying to see if, sorry, Sam.
No, George's, but let's focus on Miro in the back of the pack now, because I think we need to give them some love. So they're obviously all just tussling around here, but you can also see how close they are, trying to find those inside lines, lots of defensive driving from them. And it was the question I was going to ask around George's. I was like, how much longer? I mean, he has to do it for another 5 minutes and 22 seconds. But how much longer can George's drive defensively to fight Burgess off? Because Burgess is really putting the pressure on, and at what point do you crack and potentially make a mistake because you're too busy watching your rearview mirror?
Yeah, I mean, that sort of runoff that they had was kind of like indicative of when mistakes start to happen, and luckily for them, it didn't end badly for either one of them. I mean, they could have easily upset one another or come into contact, and that ended it. But here it continues. Burgess is going to try around the outside of Parabolica, maybe try and carry a little bit more speed, try and get a little bit of a cutback. He's got a good run, going to force himself quite wide, and the space is there. The 777 doesn't run him off too wide, but right in the slip, we're going to maximize this. They're going to try it once again. The dance down to turn one. Burgess with the run. I think he will even be able to get a little bit ahead here as he pulls out of that slip. A little bit of a slingshot effect does come down, and into the braking zone. They do manage to slow themselves down. The 777 just has to accept what's handed to him. And with 4 minutes to go, Corentin Burgess in that 666, all in racing, purple and black with a little bit of white, 488, has got himself up an extra position, and he now just has to be careful that he doesn't make the mistake. He's been following for a lot of this race, and leading ahead of somebody else is certainly a different style of driving, and you now need to make sure that you don't make those mistakes.
He fought for it for a long time. He did not give up that pressure, and obviously now his reward as he moves onto the podium. Now he's just got to keep his cool for the next 3 minutes and 30 seconds. He cannot afford to give this back away to George's. If he did, he'd be kicking himself. But I think he'll be happy. He fought for a long time. The question, of course, now is whether he can potentially, and I mean, I think I'm taking a huge leap here to say if he could possibly catch Boothby along. I don't know if that'll be possible, but I'm sure it's in his mind now as well. He wants to go as fast as he can to get there. He's not going to be looking in his rearview mirror. He's only looking forward.
I mean, if Boothby makes a big mistake, he puts it into a little bit of a spin or anything like that, that 3 second gap quickly disappears and you can catch him. But just on race pace alone, with the race time that's left on the clock, it doesn't seem that Burgess will be able to make it up to there. But for him, just making sure that he just stays ahead of George's and gets that 3rd place on the podium, that's going to be massive for him. Ogorodnikov, our current race leader here in the 2nd race of our 3-part series. We'll be back again next week. I love the Italian theme, of course, all Italian tracks. Monza this time round, big traditional track online. Racing Club International, the Ferrari 488 Cup, brought to you in partnership with Race Department, AK Informatica, Raceface, Speed Labs, and of course check out the new simracing.gp platform. If you haven't registered, you haven't got yourself involved with that, definitely go and get yourself clued up on the know. Andy Boardman, he's had a marvelous drive, capitalizing on some of the other moves that drivers were trying to make. The number 69, my favorite internet number, doing a good job here at sitting in 6th place. Can he get that top 5? I mean, certainly on the cards. If you look at Martin Lawrence in front of him, 2 car lengths behind Kirchhoff, looking so aggressive behind him, putting the pressure on. The rear end of that 488 just wanted to overtake the front side, and the defensive side needs to begin. Ferdinand Kirchhoff on an absolute bolter charge right now. On board we go out through the exit of Lesmo 2. The 136 leading that charge of Matcha behind him as well. Woolworth also still in this if mistakes are made between anybody. And this is that time that the danger happens. You know, the high accident zone signs? They should be everywhere at this point.
You did ask if Boardman could potentially take on Lawrence, but I think he needs to be more worried about what's happening behind him. Kirchhoff is out for blood, and I think that Kirchhoff wants to be able to take that sixth spot from Boardman. This is really interesting. We saw all these drivers earlier on in the race just do some beautiful lines, beautiful overtakes. We saw some really good driving from all of them, and I think now, as we move into the last, 50 seconds of this, someone's going to take a risk. Someone's going to do the push. Someone's going to want to push themselves higher on this leaderboard before the end of the competition.
Well, look at Andy Boardman. He's trying to break the slip as early as he can. He does not want Kirchhoff to get any of that aero advantage coming down. 35 seconds on the clock. Ogorodnikov comfortably in the lead. But the guys sitting here in the mid-pack, no comfort at all. Kirchhoff closing down that braking zone. Oh my word. Getting himself right onto the back end of the splitter here of the number 69. Beautiful sights we see from that rear facing cam as we jump on board then from that charging man himself, the 136 for XL Racing by Ren Volton. Doing a great job here at just keeping the pressure on as well as just gapping away from Matcha. Andy Boardman is not having a great time. He feels the pressure for sure. Race clock ticks down. This will be the final charge for a lot of the drivers. I don't know if Ogorodnikov has crossed the line just yet. I think he's actually going to cross the line on this lap. So this will be the end of the race for the drivers behind him. Ogorodnikov going out through Ascari. Hasn't had much race time, of course, being this far in at the lead. George Boothby 5.3 seconds behind. And Ogorodnikov out through the only danger really that faced him any longer, which was Ascari. George Boothby behind him in sight. But, you know, just seeing a driver, not enough to put the pressure on. And Ogorodnikov, as well as his fan base, will be very, very happy that they've won the first race out here. A comfortable victory in the wet. Lights flashing. And across the line, Ogorodnikov will go, the number 41.
What a race for him. Just incredible. And I mean, he got a lot of support last week, but look at that, the way he flew. And obviously Boothby's just come second. Burgess did it, eh? He got that third spot. George is going to be kicking himself for letting that happen.
Oh, I mean, it's certainly a long run that those two had to the line. Boothby will be happy with second. Burgess will take home third. George's fourth, Lawrence fifth, Boardman sixth, Kirchhoff, should I say, takes seventh, Matcha eighth, Woolmuth ninth, and Strauss rounding out the top 10. A lot of post-race or 2 post-race penalties will be applied. Matcha's getting 1, and Tocacelli both with 5 seconders, which will be applied. Ooh, Ogorodnikov just got disqualified. Oh no, it was post-race, driving the wrong way, probably doing his race celebrations, but that was not actually a disqualification, right?
We're not 100% sure. We have to just wait and find out.
I'm waiting for the steward, because you know stewards can be quite finicky. Hey, you know if you do the wrong thing, there's a process, and the sim can definitely think that you're trying to be malicious, driving the wrong way, and yeah.
The fans in the chat are not happy. The Ogorodnikov fan base. They want to know what's just going on.
No,
everyone is. He's okay.
He hasn't been disqualified. He won the race, and he was just doing some post-race celebrations, and that's all that happened. So we'll be eager to see how the second race performance goes, because 20 minutes done. We wait for them to get reset. We wait for the pit crew to throw in some new fuel, some new tires, and we do it all again. I'm waiting for Simon, our weatherman, to actually just confirm if we have rain for the second race later on today, or if we have a dry race out there. You know, Sam, have you heard from Simon at all? I haven't actually seen him for a while.
I haven't seen Simon for a while. We're waiting to find out. It looks like we're back in the rain. The track is wet again. We're not making it easy for them, are we?
We are not making it easy. And Simon, he actually told me before the race started that he didn't think there was going to be rain. So I see why he kind of avoided me there. We have another wet track. It looks like it's even wetter if I'm, if I can add a little bit of spice into what I can see. Our cars lining up on the grid. I can certainly see a lot more reflectiveness off the race circuit from our drone perspective. Of course, Jake Boswell, the man behind the cameras here today, bringing you all of that. Ogrodnikov, again, starting on the front row alongside Boothby. Georges starts on the second row alongside Burgess. Kirchhoff and Lawrence on the fourth row of the grid, third row of the grid. Buchel and Boardman on the fourth row. Matcha and Woolmuth round out the top 10. Garland, Matches, Strauss start 11th, 12th, and 13th. Martin Elba begins in 14th place. Gennaro D'Amato in 15th, 16th for Neil Pimlott. 17th for Lorenzo Tocacelli. 18th for Bertie Miro. 19th for David Gill. K. Elwa Beering starts in 20th. And rounding out our 21 cars will be Walter Rotundo once again. So good to see all our drivers making it here into race 2. 21 cars on the grid. Slightly longer format this time round. 40 minutes for us to play for, and we want to kind of see how that impacts things here. We saw last time round people made mistakes, and we also saw that I guess people were a little bit more antsy in the 40-minute race, right? After the 20-minute, they were like, oh, can't risk not getting a good start, can't risk not making moves early, and that kind of didn't work out for everybody. So I'm kind of keen to see what the rain factors into this tonight.
Far more aggressive driving in the 40 minutes. I just want to confirm this one more time. It's the last time George and I will speak about it, but I know all the fans are getting really worked up. Your winner of the 20-minute race, Ogrodnikov, did not get disqualified. It was a game issue. We're all good. We're now 30 minutes into 30 seconds before we start our 40-minute race. He's fine. Don't worry. Let's see how this goes. I'm expecting them to be extremely aggressive, George, as they start this.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive. So, I mean, 10 seconds on the clock. Formation lap to go. And we go racing once again. That 40 minutes, not a lot of time. It's still a sprint race. There's no mandatory stop. There's no tire changes. 30 minutes of rain plus more rain. It's just rain. And Ogrodnikov, I think he's quite happy with that. He saw that Boothby wasn't too much of a threat in the wet. But for that mid-pack, Georges, Burgess, Kirchhoff, Lawrence, Buchel, Boardman, Matcha, all the way down to the top 10 there. I think for a lot of those drivers, a lot of free points up for grabs here. Put the pressure on, force the mistakes, and grab those positions.
I'm expecting them to be very aggressive. I'm expecting Boothby to challenge right from the get-go. I don't think he's going to leave it. I think that he realizes that if he wants to win, which I think he likes to do, that he's got to challenge early, grab the front, and keep racing. I'm expecting this top 4 to really fight it out from the get-go. And I also think that mid-pack, because we've seen how strong all those drivers are. So, yeah, I'm thinking that we'll see a lot of what we saw last week in the 40-minute race, which is fights. Lots and lots of fights.
Fights in the wet. No drive there to really be something to rely on, a crutch there. I mean, in these conditions, it's hard. It certainly is. You're pushing yourself to the limit. You're following guys in close proximity. And now the factor of standing puddles, standing water, loss of traction, all of those come into play. And we had an exceptionally clean race 1. I mean, there's the internet meme of the Turn 1 Monza. We didn't see it today. It was great in race 1. If it comes out in race 2, then like I'm only half happy that we only saw half. But I mean, it's not often you see good clean starts, especially in wet conditions. And for these drivers here today, they need to just make sure they all have the same thing. I mean, if the mid-pack has a collision down there, it will just scatter the points throughout the field and almost make it a bit of a discarded race, or a discarded round for a lot of people. Ogrodnikov, I think he's got that advantage, being able to just, start ahead of the chaos. And the guys right at the back, they get to watch the chaos. In the middle, you're just like, hold, brace, focus, hold your line, hold your line, hold your line, keep holding your line, never stop holding your line. And then by the end of the exit of the Lesmos, you're still in that same train formation. It's absolute madness. So out through Ascari, Sam, predictions?
I mean, George, when you were doing, I'm going for a Boothby overtake to take the top spots. But I think that might be a gamble. But let's go with it for fun. And do you think Ognikov just keeps that number 1 spot? Do you think he races all the way through to the top?
I think he certainly has the potential to. If he doesn't get that, if he doesn't get put under pressure early on, it will be that way. And I think race 1 indicates that Boothby wasn't being pressured by drivers in 3rd and 4th for that. So for me, Ogrodnikov is showing just a good dominant performance for himself. If Boothby can answer back now, there's something different in the cockpit this time round. That's the race that I want to see. 20 minutes, it's different. Can you close it down? Can you keep up that race pace for that amount of time? All of those factors come through. It's a sprint race. It's 40 minutes. We should get this. But race 2 here for the 488 Cup is about to go live, waiting for the green flags to go. My name is George Smith, joined in the box by Sam Wright, bringing you the action, of course. On the cameras is Jake Boswell, and we are excited to bring you the second race here. Green lights are go. Ogrodnikov not with a good start this time around. Boothby keeping an initial pressure on. Sam calling it early. Boothby going to get an initial overtake if he can. And coming down into turn 1, this is going to be a lot more chaotic for the front 2 than we saw earlier on. They are going to give each other room. Boothby going to be touched on the side, not as close coming through. A lot of cars having to use the escape road in the background, and it is chaos and spin arounds they go. Boothby is the biggest impact there. He's still facing the wrong direction and trying to get that car back on track. But that is not the race start that we wanted to see. And the traditional sadness of turn 1 Monza strikes again.
Moment of silence for all of the victims. There was only one. Boothby dropping right onto. He is not going to be happy about that. That is not the way he wanted to go. I feel like maybe commentators curse. I called it. I said he was going to go for the overtake, and then he did it, and it backfired. I was also going to give you a hard time for not making a prediction, but after experiencing my first Monza chicane chaos, I understand why you weren't willing to put your head on the chopping block, George.
Danger. It's like those are, you know, like when there's a box of red flags and you're playing with all the red flags. That's like predictions at Monza, to be honest. Andy Boardman, he's got a little bit of pressure coming out from Woolmouth this time around, and it looks like Macho also in that pack. Matches, he's sitting on the back end of all of that. So right now the number 69 has a dangerous train of cars behind him, and he needs to keep that pressure. Oh, in the background, Lawrence looking like he's going for drifting lessons, and there are cars in the background for sure making contact with them. I mean, that's not the way you need to take that corner. I can certainly guarantee that if you have had a bit of an impact, you're going to not love the rest of the race. So everybody else is going to be putting on the pressure. Boothby getting his way back through the order. He's now into 9th place. He's going to be taking a position off of the likes of Matches very, very shortly, it looks like. And they are going to go side by side once again down towards turn 1. But chaos up front. Burgess and Georges, they continue. Burgess again getting a read out here. Is he going to try around the outside once again? Georges makes the mistake. He misses the exit through, and he continues to drive on. I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. I feel like at some point you hand that position back. So if Burgess does catch back up, I mean, Georges should, in my opinion, sportsman's etiquette there. You're having a battle with another driver. You've made the mistake, had to cut the chicane, but then clearly gotten a big advantage if you were coming through there. I mean, there's a couple of car links. You should keep lift and give it back. To me, that's not the greatest way to be racing out. Burgess will be like, well, I caught you before, I'll catch you again. You know, for me, I don't need to cut the track to get an advantage. That's what he'll be thinking. I know because I've been there. The guy catching the track, by the way, not the guy catching the guy.
I got you. Ognikov has got a nice easy ride here. While these two battle it out, I think that they need to be aware that he is just racing off. As I say that, look at Boothby though. I'm a big fan of the comeback kid story, right? Boothby's been able to move from 10th up to 8th. I wonder if he'll be able to fight it out and contend with the top 4. As I say that, look at that driving from him. He is flying. He's now in 7th. Can I be that person who wants to say that maybe he needs to back off, or should he get super aggressive and try and push it? I don't know, George. What do you think?
Just keep pushing. You need to just keep pushing, and you can't let it stop in these formats of races. You've got the race pace. You know that you need to do it, and I think it's just a keep pushing mentality. Tokicelli on the inside here of the number 21. That's going to be Strauss. They're going to go side by side down to the line again. It's going to be a little switch around. George is on the right side this time. Burgess on the left as they come down into the braking zone. So work done then for Burgess, regardless of what happened before. Position gained on track. This time around, not taking a lot of time. Strauss and Tokicelli, they're still going side by side. A little switch around, trying to be had out by that number 21. The 911 of Tokicelli just kind of drives out, doesn't really get too phased, and does kind of cost the other driver a little bit more time. But look at this man, Sam. What did we say before? Run away, and continue to run away. He's just disgusting at this point. 3 seconds up the road at Burgess, and the fact that Burgess and Georges were fighting out, that gave him some early gap. Can Burgess catch up to Ogorodnikov? I mean, on race pace alone, we're going to have to just, I guess, wait a couple of laps, because Carrington Burgess has just been caught up in that battle, not giving us that clean air lap time that Ogorodnikov has done. So his last lap that Ogorodnikov did was a 153.5. Carrington Burgess' last lap was a 154.5. So just being in that little battle, 1 second a lap slower. So it'll be interesting to see how he does when he's now clear of that.
I wonder if he'll be able to catch. I mean, I don't know. We saw Ogorodnikov in that 20-minute race, and the way once you gave him a little bit of space, he flew. So I'm not sure, but we're now watching your favorite car, George, 69, the Hulk / Joker / we don't really know what to call it. And you can see Boothby hot on Boardman's tail now. But I think what Boothby needs to realize is he's moving into the pack where we've seen some incredible driving. So now, there's been incredible driving throughout, but now Boothby's really going to have to, hunker down, focus, concentrate, because I don't think these guys are going to give up their positions without a fight. And as I said, look at Boothby, he's flying. He really wants this. He wants to take it. He wants the inside line. He does just that. Is he going to be able to hold it as he comes out of here? He's got the pace. There he goes. But Boardman's not giving up. This is my thing. These are my favorite battles where they just don't want to give it. But I think Boothby's going to be able to take that 6th position from Boardman with more of a fight. Look at that.
Boardman, a persistent number 69 coming in there, trying to sneak his way through. And unfortunately, Boothby going to get a little bit of a better read into that second chicane. But good job from Boardman to just stay on the back end and keep himself in that slip, keep himself competitive. That is side by side. That's a little bit of a touch, but a little bit of rubbing his race and coming down into the braking zone. D'Amato will kind of be nudged himself a couple of car lengths behind, I guess, after the exit through. But for now, Gennaro D'Amato just trying to make sure he can get some consistent points in this. Currently in 13th place. Miro Strauss in front of him, very much visible. George's 2 seconds down the road of Burgess. And Ogorodnikov, let's see lap time wise, 153.5 being dropped in by Ogorodnikov. 3/10 slower was Burgess then on his sort of free air lap. So still pace being found out by this number 41. And if he continues that, he'll continue to build the lead. So needs to keep that consistent. 32 minutes for him to do so. And it's going to continue to rain for that entire duration.
It's interesting though, because Ogorodnikov has seemed to just be so much faster, speeding ahead of everyone. But when I look, Burgess in his last I think it was his last lap, maybe two away from that, was able to clock a best lap time that was pretty close to Ogorodnikov's time. Not a huge amount. I think it was like 0.5 of a second or whatever that separated them, which means Burgess has the pace. But now it's going to come down to less about the pace, more about trying to ignore the fact that Georges is probably going to be sniffing on him very soon, and more just focusing on trying to get the cleanest lines he can out of the corners and open up really nicely in those straights so that he can try at least to battle it out with that white Ferrari right up at the front.
I mean, things have changed out a little bit this time around. Guys are driving a lot closer, a lot harder in the 20-minute race early on. I think the smaller bit of chaos in turn 1 might have contributed slightly to it, but Miro kind of taking a bit of a tour. This is the replay that we needed to see. I mean, it's not the replay he wants to see, but this is the one that we will see. We'll take a little tour of the second chicane, just around the outside. Cheeky beaky light, joins the circuit. Does a good job at not upsetting his car on those anti-cut curbs. I've seen some people do a little NASA space launch from there, but he does manage to get his car back facing the right direction and rejoins the racing once again. Gill, he's 7/10 or 2/10 then behind. That's the blue number 80 putting the pressure on. So Gennaro D'Amato's little excursion definitely didn't help his lap time, and that's going to allow some pressure to come out. It looks like Garland as well in that 101 going to be seeing if he can sniff and get in on that action if they decide to make that a little bit of a party. The number 80 takes the inside line a little bit wide as well, gets a little bit of understeer on the exit, and Garland going to have that advantage then down the start-finish straight, Sam.
So remember, while this race is a sprint, the cup itself is a marathon, and you want to just position yourself, place well in every single race so you can get points on the board and finish off really nicely, which is what a lot of these drivers are going to be focusing on. What just happened there?
Oh, it was just they were going into the braking zone. They went alongside. Garland tried to go quite late on the brakes as well, and just had to kind of cut himself back in. They have caught themselves up to, is that some traffic in front of him, or was that Carl? No, that's D'Amato. So D'Amato going very slow there. He's losing out positions then to both those drivers as they not focusing coming in. Garland coming into contact with the back end then, and is going to rejoin the circuit. David Gill, he just continues on as if nothing's happened. Side by side then for Christian Bouchel and Boothby. Boothby, he's done such a good drive, hasn't he? He's almost now challenging for a top 5 spot after that chaos in turn 1.
I mean, if you can race at the front and you can race at the front well, but coming back is really the true test of a driver's mettle, and he's proving that he's got it. He's going to want to finish in the top 5. He's not going to be happy with what started. You can see him on board now. He's going to add a lot of pressure to these top 5 cars, and I think that they're going to need to be looking. Most of them are trying to catch the leaders. Right now, though, they need to be worried about what's coming up from behind. Boothby is quick, fast, and he's probably a little bit angry, which we don't know him well enough to know if that makes him drive better or not, but I find angry drivers like this in situations like this, if they've got the right competitive spirit, he's going to be looking for blood. So Bouchel's got to get worried now, because I wouldn't want that red and yellow Ferrari on my backside.
No,
and as I say that, there it goes.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry for too long. The pressure immediately released, and Boothby gets on his way. Bouchel maybe also just, you kind of realize where you're at in front of him. It looks like Lawrence making a move onto Georges. That's the challenge then for 4th place. I think Lawrence going to stay side. Ooh, very wide. Lawrence going to play in the sand, and that's going to let Boothby with the charge. The rocket ship comes through, and the charge begins. One small mistake, then Lawrence takes a travel out onto the dirt, and the number 32 Bouchel also in on this. So this is exactly what you want to see. A little fight coming out for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place, and in the background then you can see 7th and 8th Boardman and Woolmouth coming out of Lesmo 2. Everybody on the pace, everybody bringing the best racing that they can. The pro splits here for the Ferrari 488 Cup, proving to show why our drivers come out here and bring some great racing entertainment to the viewers. In the rain, in the wet, in the dry, whatever it is, it's going to be a good time out there. 15 seconds time penalty then added on for the number 136 of Kirchhoff. Daniel Jose Georges in the 777. Going to stay defensive. Where does Boothby go? The man with the charges. I mean, it's not a last to first challenge, but he's certainly down into the top 10, or outside of the top 10. I think he's 11th. And he's now challenging for a third spot on the podium. He wants to get into P3. And look at that. With the slipstream, then Sam, alongside they go.
Alongside they go, I'm pretty sure he's going to pull forward. You saw there, if you make even a little bit of a mistake, create even a little bit of space for him, he's going to take it. And what impressive driving from that number 75 car. He had that rough start. He was in contention. He won both races last week. Second place in our first race. Knocked off, dropped out of the top 10. We didn't know he had that spin out. Didn't know if he'd be able to pull it back. But like I said then, I do love me a comeback kid story. And there it is. He moves onto the podium. Can he catch Burgess now? Burgess now. That is the question, right? Is he going to be able to make up that difference? There is a big gap there. I don't know. I don't want to ride off Boothby just yet. But that is a gap
6
that he's going to have to fight for.
Boothby can make this up for sure. With 25 minutes on the clock, the pace that's coming out, so I feel like Boothby, it's not just his last lap that you can really look at, or his best lap, because he hasn't really got himself into fresh air. It's been permanently pushing. But the lap times that he's pushing in the traffic and getting through the traffic are impressive. It's only 5.8 seconds up the road, and he's had to deal with so much coming out of the order. Chats in the chat let us know that there is no anger coming out from Boothby. He's not an angry driver, and he's cool, calm, and collected. Cool as a cucumber. And he's just carving his way through the salad of drivers out here today. Right now, the rain not going...
Maybe I just, put it on him.
He's not angry.
No, he's chilled. That's why he got to the front. I would have got angry and probably smashed into someone, which is why I don't race. I commentate.
Chilling like a villain. It's all about how quickly you can just release all of the emotions that will cloud you from being able to do what you need to do. That's what makes a great sim racer, not someone that hangs on to bad memories or any of that part. You have to just be able to let it go, and it's hard after you have an incident to be able to get back on the circuit and continue to drive. It's not an easy feat to do. So good to show that skill set as a attribute as a driver. Ogrodnikov given a little bit of screen time. He does a little drift out of the exit of the second chicane. Hasn't had much screen time at all. 5 seconds ahead of Burgess. So what will happen here, right? Burgess gets caught by Boothby. Ogrodnikov can then pull a 10-second gap as Burgess and Boothby have to go defensive against each other. I think that's just what I think.
So let me get this straight, George. You wait till halfway through the race to make your prediction after you've had a chance to see how everyone's driving.
No, it's not a prediction. I'm just saying at this point I think that's where things could go from here. Definitely not a prediction for like a race win. I'm just saying it's a good position for Ogrodnikov to be in, to not get the pressure out. It's like if Burgess keeps that pressure on when they do go defensive against Boothby and the two of them go back and forth, then it keeps Boothby from catching up to Ogrodnikov without a doubt. So Ogrodnikov is already at an advantage in this situation, and the fact that he then has to, he already knows that when Boothby catches Burgess, it's going to add more to that advantage.
So how do you fix this if you're Burgess? Because Burgess will be seeing that Ferrari coming up behind him. He'll recognize, maybe he'll see the livery, maybe he knows it's Boothby, maybe he doesn't. But how do you change this now? If you're Burgess, knowing that the moment you get into one of those defensive battles, you could lose time on the leader, what's the way to do this?
Before that, let's just see if Lawrence gets this done. Around the outside, he already makes the pass on the back end of George's. I think it's a situation of reading it. At the moment, if you're just reading pure lap times alone, Burgess is only a tenth slower, or let's call it 1.5 tenths slower than what Boothby's lapping at the moment. So 1.5 tenths with 5.9 seconds gap between them. That's quite a lot of time that you've got with that kind of gap. If he starts getting a second quicker, then it's dangerous. And we see the pull-out coming out from the 777, making a good call not to collide with the back of Lawrence. And that's again, an attribute in a sim drive you want to see. Sees that he's not going to slow this car down enough. A little bit of a late move then would have been planned if he just sent it up the inside. Just takes the escape road, it's why it's there, and we'll be able to drive out another day. No harm, no foul.
Michelle now, we're watching him, and he's got the Joker held behind him. Boardman, we know Boardman's quite an aggressive driver. He's probably looking to push up a little bit, and as I say that, you can see he's trying to find that space that he needs to do just that. He wants to be moving himself into the 6th position, but Michelle's driving really well. Doesn't want to allow him to do that. He's just keeping it tight. As I say that, though, going a little bit wide, and we wait now. I'm just watching here. Boardman's still just racing, and now we're on to Bournemouth. I got super confused with all the colours there, not gonna lie. Noob Shark in the mix.
No, there's a lot. And Bournemouth and Kirchhoff driving the same car liveries, so for them, the teammates trying to have a little charge down. I feel like Boardman put himself in a dangerous part of Ascari there. Good to see him just making the decision not to full commit to that, and that has then obviously compromised his run down that back stretch. He hasn't had the best exit out through Parabolic, and that's allowed Kirchhoff to get onto the back end. And for the number 69, not a great place to be in when you've got two teammates behind you as well, putting on the pressure. They can work together. They then have a better read on situations. They can make sure that when they're making a move, they don't leave you all the room in the world. You leave some room, but you know, you make some space for the other cars as well, and if it's your teammates, you're going to certainly help them get through the field. So as a solo driver with two teammates behind you, you got to just you got to bear in mind that it's not just the single driver you're thinking against. You're thinking for your move and the car behind you, as well as the car following him, all at the same time. Where do I put myself to be least at risk of losing out here?
Just to keep you updated, Ogre Rognikov is still in the lead. He's still driving nicely. You won't get to see a lot of him because he's just off enjoying the scenery. While we watch all of these other races, now you can see Boardman there, the two similar liveries behind him, the ones that confused me earlier. We're now watching him, number 69, George's favorite car. He's chasing Michelle, but he's got Kirchhoff right on his tail there. So this is a nice little interesting kind of mid-pack battle to watch because they're all really close, all being really aggressive, all just trying to jockey for position.
Kirchhoff shouldn't really be fighting too hard here. I mean, he's got a 15-second time penalty, right? That puts him quite far down the order when they finish up here. So he needs to also not compromise his teammates' race by pushing too hard in a situation that he doesn't need to. You know, 15 seconds, it's a lot of time. If you look at that timing sheet, it will put him down behind Strauss in 10th. So it's gonna, I mean, either way, he needs to be careful of where he is. And if he makes more mistakes, right, let's just say he now contacts Boardman and the stewards find that he's guilty of that contact. That additional time that you pick up, it's just not worth the push. I promise you, it's not.
But yet he still continues to push.
He continues to push. He's a sim driver by nature, and drivers want to fight out. I am not saying that you can't do it. I'm just saying that in a situation like this, it's not something that a lot of people always consider. That, you know, what could go worse from here is that you could re-escalate things just because you're now in a position that you have no right to fight for. Because when you come by, you're not clearing these cars and getting 15 seconds ahead of them in 17 minutes. Absolutely not.
For sure. So Boardman now sort of sandwiched between Buchel and Kirchhoff. That's going to be annoying for him because he wants to be able to create space. He wants to challenge there. They're all so close, and I'm sure Volmuth at the back is probably frustrated as well. Look at that, though. All just right on top of each other, fighting for what is ultimately that 6th position. And as I say that, we move on to Lawrence. He is one of my favorite drivers to watch. I think he's really impressive. He has got George's on his tail as well. And here we go, George, here we go. This was the fight we were looking for.
Yep, round the outside, tries Kirchhoff in that 136, and very wide he stays. The 69 with a much nicer exit out. He's had a good run. They're catching up to Buchel together. That motivation of the pressure coming out and Boardman using it. That 32 had a bad exit out of Parabolica. He's being robbed blind down at the start-finish straight. He's going to try and pick up for the defensive line. Have they all managed to break? He's missed it, the number 32. He's had to pull himself out, goes over the escape road. The 69 goes through. The 136 will get through as well. The 32 should just back off out of that, let them through. He has made the mistake and let them continue down, but the 69 is going to leave the inside line open for the 136, I think. Is he? The cutback comes through. Nowhere to go. Boardman in the middle of the road, forcing him to go around the switchback onto the inside. Kirchhoff can't break there, not alongside, but will tack himself back round. So beautiful racing coming out with 16 minutes to go. Andy Boardman still stays defensive over Kirchhoff, who's putting on so much pressure at this point in time. Boardman will not like it, will not like the fact that this guy's got a penalty and pushing him to his limits. But at the same time, maybe he loves this kind of thing. Maybe this is why he does some racing. Battles like this, regardless of what you.
This is what it's all about. He just wants to race. I enjoy it. The fans enjoy it. So, sorry, Boardman, you're going to have to deal with it so we can watch. Kirchhoff is right back there. He is unrelenting. And we've spoken about this. It's been the narrative throughout today. It's the narrative from last week as well. When you've got this much pressure coming at you from behind, you're spending way too much time looking in your rearview mirror and not enough time looking out front. Boardman's now got to focus on George's in the front. He's got to focus on his lines. He's got to focus on his race. And he needs to try and ignore Kirchhoff. But I don't know if you can ignore this.
I don't think we can ignore this now. Kirchhoff is going to try and go on the inside. Better run out of the Parabolica. They are going to go side by side. I think that Ferdinand Kirchhoff, just on the run alone out of Parabolica, is going. Look at them giving each other miles of space coming down. Inside, outside, you know where you're going. I think that Boardman on the exit in this position is in a better position. Under braking, how do they come down? Do they slow the cars down? Boardman back across the line, giving the space that he needs. He will have the inside line for the exit. The spin comes down in the background. Andy Boardman, mistakes are made, contact made with Buchel as well, but the ping pong effect does get him pointed the right direction. Cameraman Jake, he's got us sorted. He's got the action replay. Let's see what happens here. A little bit too early on the loud pit. Oh, it's the curb. The curb spun him around. He gets knocked back the right direction. Buchel sent on a bit of a lawnmower expedition course in the background. He's not going to be too stoked with that. But for Andy Boardman, oh, the pressure and the nerves and the spins and all the things come down.
What that was meant. I mean, I think we saw it coming. A good sort of 3-4 minutes ago. Those cars were battling it out for a long time. Someone was bound to feel it. Boardman had been sandwiched in there for so long, and he'd finally got free, and then it happened again. So unfortunate for him. I'm sure he's going to be frustrated. Kirchhoff's probably going to be very happy. But now we're looking at Martin Lawrence. Again, said it earlier, and then we jumped off, and one of my favorite drivers. He is just also got George's right there. How aggressive is this race? Everyone is unrelenting. No one wants to just back off. Everyone just wants to take whatever they can, and Lawrence is now having to drive as best he can to ensure that Georges does not, that 777 doesn't get the position he wants. And there he opens up as he goes around towards the end of the lap. But I don't know, I think Georges, we've seen him drive, we've seen him overtake, we've seen Lawrence do the same. So how do you think this one is going to go down, George?
I think that this is Martin Lawrence's to me. I mean, for me, this is his position to be in. He's gotten past. He needs to just make sure now that he stays on his best race game. You can't now afford to slip up after you've showed your cards. You need to now take them to the bank as well. The number 32 of Buchel. Can have a look at Boardman this time. Round and round and round and round Buchel goes, and I think that's the second time at this corner tonight. Race 1 was where the 32 also had a little tour de la tour. Too eager, Sam. Traction control. Not saving him that time round. And unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately for some, unfortunately for others, that's just going to put the cooling down. Boardman gets some breathing space. Martin Lawrence, he's also given himself some of that room. Couple car lengths out of Lesmo 2. 6 seconds behind Boothby, so not a lot of time for him left on the clock to catch that 6-second gap. Boothby has not caught Burgess, so those small 10th little, lap deficit, speed differences that we saw, just not enough to be able to catch up. And with 11 minutes to go, that time is running out for them to do anything. The 777 here, getting a read on the back of the 171. Middle of the track, you would say that this one is going Lawrence's way. At the exit here of Ascari, you want to back that 777.
You're calling the 777. I think I've seen Martin Lawrence do this before. I've seen him drive defensively. He's one of the drivers that I think who doesn't buckle under the pressure. I hope I just haven't cursed him with my commentator's voice. I think he can hold George's off. I think he's got 11 minutes. I believe he can do it. So let's see how that goes. Boothby, of course, pulled himself up from about 11th position at one point. He's now sitting in third. He's got to be happy with that. Whether or not he catches Burgess is another story, but I think he has to be happy with the way he's raced, the fact that he's been able to potentially get onto a podium. And look at Lawrence go. He just knows what his lines are. He knows how to keep the other car out. I feel like I'm
he does. I mean, he does. You do. You are fangirling, but it's okay. Lawrence is a good person to have someone to kind of pick apart at good aspects of sim racing, and he's doing exactly that, just defending brilliantly. That 777 does get a read. He's got the advantage of the slipstream, but catching a car and passing them, two different stories. So all that Lawrence needs to do is put himself onto that inside defensive line. You're forcing a car to go anywhere around you on the outside. Maybe bar turn like the first chicane where the outside then becomes the inside on the exit. But even so, it's not always the best line out. The speed that you get is different. So put your car on the inside, and it certainly makes the move in the hands of the other person entirely. It's their thing to either mess up or lose speed on. It's just that simple. It sounds that simple. It's not that simple. It's actually complicated simple. That's simple, Sam. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Simple talking about. So Martin Lawrence holding on to his 4th position there. Nice smooth driving from him. He's just got to keep it cool. But George's is unrelenting. He's not going to give up. He did catch up with him, but like my co-commentator George said, you ultimately can catch up with the car, but overtaking is a different story. And Lawrence is going to be a tough one to overtake. I think that this battle for that 4th position will be the one that goes down right to the end of this race. Both of these gents driving really well. And as I say that, Kirchhoff, we saw his driving earlier. We saw how he fought. And as I say that, look at Volmuth coming up on the outside there. He wants Kirchhoff to back off now. He wants to head out in front.
Kirchhoff doing exactly that. Just kind of slows himself down into the braking zone, allows his teammate in the number 33 to slide through. No big time lost out. Kirchhoff with that 15-second time penalty doesn't want to hold up his teammates and lets him get on with his business. And for Kirchhoff, unfortunately, that 15-second penalty is going to slap hard and going to knock him down at the order. The nature of racing is that live stewarding is there to control the situations, and a massive shout out to all of our stewards that are contributing. Daniel, Jake, Junior, Stephen and Tom, all out there just representing and making sure that they are there to keep drivers in check. Bad behavior does not deserve to get go unnoticed, and it's there to regulate and make people better. It's not something that is used as a punishment for people. It's there to make things better and make the racing better for everybody. So right now, Bart Matcha in that 404. He's got Gil behind him. Half a second is the timing split updates. Always looks a little bit quicker or closer than half a second when cars are in this sort of region together. But that again, it's not even a braking area where that time is made up. Small mistake, catch the end. If you have to go like ultra save the car when it's you're losing the back end in a big drift, 5 seconds easily lost out.
So we're going to watch this battle. We're going back to Martin Lawrence. There we go. That 4th and 5th battle, Lawrence and George's. This is the one that I'm probably most excited about. I've watched both of them. Look at George's. You can sort of see he's trying to figure out where the space is, where he can find the space that he needs to just fight a little bit, potentially force an error, maybe find a gap. Both of these drivers I've watched them climb up where they've been stuck in positions which maybe they didn't want to. Only after 3 races we've seen them both do it, and this is the battle now, because I don't think Lawrence makes mistakes. I just, not very often. We've seen him make mistakes in this Cup Series, but he doesn't make them often, and I think that Georges is going to have a hard time trying to find the space that he needs to potentially push Lawrence out of that 4th spot. But it is a battle that is going to be joyful for us to watch.
It is going to be joyful for us to watch, and with 6 minutes to go, the push is on, and the continued defense, the kink in the armor search from Georges continues. It's so hard to pass here. It's all about the pressure. It's about a little bit of bravery as well. I mean, you've got the read, you can go a little bit later on the brakes. How much speed do you want to then carry into that corner? It is very much a fine knife's edge on how stable you can come through, the line that you can then take at a certain speed. It all changes up. There's an ideal line and an ideal speed. A good run coming out then from the 777. This is a good run onto the back end of the run to the Parabolica. Not good enough though. Lawrence still will have the racing line coming down into the braking zone for Parabolica. 5 minutes on the clock, and these two continue out. This is a great drive. The two of them will post-race message each other and be like, that was stunning, absolutely loved it. And for us as commentators and fans, this is the kind of driving you want to see. Lawrence gonna have to pick a line pretty certainly soon, and it looks like the 777 going to try and get himself on the inside into the braking zone. Not quite there though. Gonna have to tuck back in. Smooth is steady, trying to get a little cutback action coming down. The 777 all over the back end. Lawrence continues to, like an older sibling, slam the door in his younger sibling's face. Says, you are not allowed into my position. I would like the trophy for 4th place. Even though it's not a cool trophy. 3rd place where Boothby's at. This is where both of them want to be. They're not getting there. Braking zone. How Georges stopped that car from coming into the back end of Lawrence is beyond me. And now this is, I mean, it was great. It was naughty touch. It was close. Naughty. Not. I get so sad. That is not how I wanted that to go for these two drivers. And although they'll probably like wait and give each other the positions back, we'll now see a new driver take over 4th, I'm sure. And for them, that's amazing. Does Lawrence get out ahead? He does get out back into 4th place.
He does get back.
Georges into 5th then? No, that's not Georges though behind him. Where's Georges?
No, that's not Georges. Lawrence is in 4th, but it looks like Volmuth is now on his case. Georges has fallen behind in that little snap, the little slap and tickle that Georges pulled on Lawrence has actually cost him a spot. So now it's Volmuth that's on Lawrence's back. He's got a new chaser. He slammed the door in his sibling's face, and the other sibling came and is now whispering, going, I'm coming to get you. That's Volmuth. He's doing the whispering. Georges is now going to have to compete with Volmuth and try and catch up. Lawrence has kept his 4th spot, though, and probably not rattled, focused, that he would have shaken off the little... I'm going to keep calling it the slap and tickle, because I find that quite fun. So he would have shaken off the little slap and tickle, and he is now in 4th place. Volmuth is chasing down, but I actually think Lawrence has now been able to create himself a little bit of space, not as much pressure as what Georges was putting on. This is dangerous for me. If you give Lawrence this much room, he's just going to keep flying. If he gets some good lines, he can make even more distance. So Volmuth's really going to have to get a little bit aggressive. We've only got less than 3 minutes to go, so now is the time. At 33, that car, XL Racing, Volmuth, he's going to have to make a move.
On board with Volmuth in the XL Racing by Renvolson. Sitting in 5th place for them. And like you said, a little bit of get the move on the show on the road. Not really in his hands though, with the time that he's got to work with. It's absolutely bucketing down, as you can see. So the drivers have been pushing time in, time out. But as the second race starts to slowly wrap up, let's just reflect on Ogorodnikov having a dominant 2-race performance so far. I mean, first race was flawless. Second race has been flawless for him. A well-deserved back-to-back victory going to come out for him. And it's been an interesting change of events. The rain, it's been fun to see the adaptation. I think the drivers have been pushing themselves to great limits. A wonderful stream audience we've had as well. Lots of comments, lots of chat going on, chitter-chatter going down. Plenty of likes being thrown out from all you guys. You guys are fantastic. We even managed to get some dislikes, Sam. So, I mean, for me, you know, likes and dislikes, they go hand in hand. We love engagement. So, shout out to everybody liking and supporting us for what we do.
Decent. And talking about decent.
Pretty decent.
Pretty decent. Look at this. We do have to say thank you to everyone, but also, I mean, we're moving on to Garden now. It looks like there's going to be a little bit of a battle here, George, and it is the final minute. You know, the final minute's cracking down. Now's your chance. If you want to make a move, best you do it now, right?
Not even. Like, it's not even worth it for Matcha at this point. 15-second time penalty for Garland up front. Like, you could just settle behind him and just drive out the rest of this race without even making it. You could break 10 minutes early at this point and still finish ahead of him. So for Matcha, like, it's not worth risking things to get past you. Like, if it's an easy pass, then sure, take it, but don't put yourself at risk of going alongside or getting your way through a driver that's not going to, you know, be an issue come post the race. So there we go. Matcha gets through. I think Garland giving him plenty of space coming into turn one. Also realizes that with the driver so close, he's not worth fighting for position. He's going to end after the clock. So good showing all around. 7 seconds then on the clock. Do we get an extra lap out here? Does Ogorodnikov give us an extra one? I don't think so. We're going to tick down before we go over the line. Only just though. And here you go. Ogorodnikov takes a back-to-back victory here tonight in the 488 Cup at Monza edition. 20 minutes and 40-minute race winners. Corentin Burgess with a great second race takes home second place. Just behind him comes George Boothby to round out the top three on the podium. And a small little gap out to the likes of Martin Lawrence. What was a very chaotic, almost mid-part to that race coming into the closing phases has kind of quietened down for him. He's going to take home fourth place for connection loss. He's going to love that too. Woolmouth will get into the top five. Will finish 4.2 seconds down the road of Lawrence and Andy Boardman and Georges. It's going to be 6th and 7th. So the number 69 gets into the top 10. Bouchel finishes in 8th. Matcha will finish in 9th place when he gets over the line. Just getting a camera shot of him coming down to the parabolic up for the final time. Number 404 for connection lost. He's had a good race too. Had some nice camera work of him. He's going to take home 9th place, and Garland then will be the man behind him to not take home a top 10. I think Gill's actually going to get in that with that time penalty apply. You'll see Garland will take 10th now, but when Gill crosses the line, I think that he's going to jump ahead of Garland to wrap up the top 10. But Sam, closing thoughts on the race?
Well, I mean, for me, George Boothby's comeback, what a performance from him, dropping into 11th, being able to pull himself up onto the podium. Martin Lawrence, you see him now, one of my favorite drivers, just clean, smooth driving from him. But of course, the shout out today has to go out to Ogorodnikov. He came in, he had his fans ready, he raced 2 flawless races, had that pole position and just never let anyone catch him. We didn't have a chance to see much of him because he was just flying around in the front, but congratulations to him. I know how hard he fought last week to try and get on the podium. This week, he's got 2 first places.
I mean, that's what the story's about. If you're going to shine, you better start shining now. 1 more round to go next week, and then we wrap up the championship. So you don't really have all the race season or number of races that you would get in a traditional championship that we do here. So a little three race series. So next week we go out to Imola to round things out for round 3. Sam, it has been an absolutely great night with the racing, especially in the rain. I think it added a little element in there. So big thanks to you for joining me once again. A shout out to our lovely stream audience. You guys have been awesome. Some lovely comments coming in from you guys. Always nice to read the feedback from you guys. And if you do have anything to contribute to us, definitely find us out on our Discord channel. plenty of places to enter races and get involved. If you want to get involved in commentary, stewarding, any of that side of things, we're always open to some new faces around there. Racing Club International, in partnership with Race Department, AK Informatica, Raceface, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP, wishes you a awesome rest of your evening. It's been great hanging out with you guys tonight, and we'll see you next week at Imola.